Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn international studies, today Mozambique, and after we've done it, we're going to do extensor carpi-ulnar strength training. So we're going to train base muscle and tendon, and if you participate in the extensor carpi-ulnar strength training, when it's at your own risk. And this is part 2 to Mozambique. People and history. Mozambique is in southern Africa at the east coast. And I'm just reading it and trying to understand it. People and history. Most of Mozambique's people speak Bantu language. Okay, the language spoken in Mozambique has the name Bantu. The Makua Lombe are the dominant group in the north and the Tsonga in the south. About 9% of the people are Muslims and some 11% are Christians. The rest follow tribal religions. Only about 1% of the Africans are literate. That book is from 1978, so maybe something has changed. Until 1975, Mozambique had 200,000 Europeans and 25,000 Asians, but only about 30,000 Europeans remained after independence. Okay, the things. So the main language spoken is Bantu, and in the north are the people Makua Lombe mostly living, and the other dominant group in the south are the Tsonga. 9% are Muslims and 11% Christians, and the other ones are having other religions. Only 1% can read and write in 1978. Until 1975, Mozambique became in 1975 independent, the last Southeast African colony. It was a colony of Portugal. And after that, until that time, 200,000, there were 200,000 Europeans and 25,000 Asians, but after it stopped being a colony of Portugal, only 25,000 Europeans remain. Portuguese influence began in 1498 when Vasco da Gama visited Mozambique. Colonization began in 1505, and for the next 200 years, forts, I think we're making many forts, the little castles, the little military houses. Next 200 years, forts at Mozambique Island, Nova Sofala and Quelimane provisioned ships sailing between Portugal and South Asia. Okay. In the year 1498, there was Vasco da Gama. He was the captain of ships, and he then sailed there around the world, and he made then a stop in Mozambique. And then 7 years later, the first colonization began, and for the next 200 years, there were forts made at Mozambique, so the ships who were trading from Portugal to Asia could stop there and get new things. They call it provision. They got new food on board and so on. The area declined after Portugal lost most of its Asian empire in the 18th century. Okay, Portugal had, do I say here, in Asia also colonies. But after they didn't have them anymore in the 18th century, they weren't using these forts in Mozambique so much anymore. Mozambique's frontiers were fixed in 1891 by Portugal and Britain, which controlled the surrounding territory, in spite of African opposition. Okay, there was something done with the frontiers, I think they mean the border, and that had something to do with Portugal and Britain. Britain was controlling the surrounding territory, something of South Africa's Rhodesia, Zambia, and Tanzania. But South Africa was majority, but it's not here. The country gained part of German East Africa in 1919. So there was German East Africa, that was where today's Namibia is mostly. And a part of this German East Africa, which seems to be bigger, became now part of Mozambique in 1990. So after the First World War, which Germany had lost, but Germany and its partner people. After the Second World War, African nationalists demanded independence. So after 1945, there were people in Mozambique who said they didn't want to be longer ruled by Portugal. To counter this, Portugal pushed ahead with economic development in 1950 to 1970, but even so, fighting between nationalist guerrillas and Portuguese troops broke out in 1964. They are writing now here that Portugal was trying then after the Second World War in the 50s to 70s to bring economic developing, to make economic development in Mozambique, but there were people still fighting guerrilla war, a war tactic, against the Portuguese military troops. That broke out in 1964. It continued until independence was agreed in 1974. So there was now a guerrilla war continuing from 1964 until 1975. And then in 1975, it's not written if it was because of a guerrilla war or something else. There then Mozambique got its independence. In 1975, Mozambique became an independent Marxist one-party republic with Zamora Machel, leader of the Mozambique Liberation Front, Frelimo as president. Now, that book is from 1978, so these informations might be a couple of years out of the past. In 1975, Mozambique became an independent country, and at that time it had only one country, a Marxist party, with the leader Zamora Machel, who was the leader of the Mozambique Liberation Front, and he became now the president of Mozambique. The next year, Machel declared his country's opposition to European rule in Rhodesia. He closed the border and declared a state of war, but Mozambique and Rhodesian forces raided across the border. Now, the text stops here about Mozambique. The book's from 1978, so that might have been an ongoing situation in 1978. I don't know what it is now. Okay. The president of Mozambique stated in 1978 he was opposing the rule of European rule in Rhodesia, but they said Mozambique was the last Southeast African. Until 1975, Mozambique was the last European colony in Southeast Africa and Portugal's second largest overseas territory. Southeast, Rhodesia. I would say we have it on the map. Rhodesia is also part of Southeast. Now, whatever. There was a state of war declared. Now, here's not against Rhodesia or just a state of war in Mozambique. Let's not go that much into the details. That is clearly broken up here at the end of the text, and this seems to be a set fixed point in an ongoing situation. Okay, there was no opposition again there was in Mozambique in 1975 and 1975 opposition against ruling of people from Europe out in Mozambique and also its neighboring country like Rhodesia. Area 780,000 square kilometers. Population 9 million, calculated in 1976. Capital Maputo, formerly Lourenço Marques. There seemed to live in 384,000 people in 1978. Flag, triangles of yellow, black, red and green, separated by 3 white wedges, radiating from emblem in the top corner near the flagstaff. Chief cities Nampula, Beira and Quelimane. Ethnic groups Central Bantu-speaking tribes. Chief farm products cashew nuts, cassava, coconuts, cotton, maize, rice, sisal, sugar, tea, tobacco. Major minerals coal and gold. Manufacturers processed farm products, glass, paint, vehicle assembly and cement. Major exports cashew nuts, cotton, sugar, tea. Copra? Major imports machinery, vehicles, crude and semi-refined iron, crude oil, cotton, textiles. Places of interest: Gorongosa National Park, Maputo Game Reservoir. So places where we mean places, national parks, to the listing here, or places where people could travel to if they are not from Mozambique. Gorongosa National Park at Maputo Game Reserve. That was the international studies part. We're gonna come back and we're gonna make at least one video about Mozambique. I'm thinking about the second one, about the thing with the rivers. It was in the previous part, that it has flat plain areas and that the rivers can now flood a lot. And we're going to come back and make at least one video about these things of where it is, the geography, the neighboring countries, a bit of the history. What is written here? The history is quite short. What is written here? It actually is just 2-3 lines. We're going to say something about the independence in 1975. That means, if you were here for international study, you can go directly to the next part of international studies of Mozambique, when we will continue with Mozambique. If you stay here and participate in the extensor couple and our strength training, then it's better here for us. We're having the hands with fists next to us, and we bring the fists down and up with flat gate. And again down and up now, and we're having 3 rules. The first rule is that we're stopping immediately as soon as there's pain. The second rule is that we're going only as fast as we can go with a little bit of effort. And the third rule is that we're not overdoing it. We just want to strengthen, not to exhaust. Next exercise, the counterfight bunny check, fists, and bring them up and down. And again up and down. Again up and down. And now you can use a t-shirt or a towel or a sock, and you have it in your hand and you press into it, and when you bring your wrist again down into whatever you wish, and again up. Press evenly with all 5 fingers, with a 4th and finger, with a 4th and 5th finger, and again up. And on the other side, press again, and bring your wrist upwards. There you go. Again up. And down. And now press again, and turn to the outside, only as far as it goes, and to the inside. Outside again, and inside. Up again, press. Inside. Have the next exercise. Press, now hold from the top and bring your wrist down and up. And down. And on the outside. On the outside. Hold again from the top and bring your head down and down and now just press the neutral position and on the other side. And that was the extensor kappa and strength training. Thank you very much, and until next time.